In the heart of Manhattan's most exclusive shopping district, Aisha Thompson, a black woman dressed in modest attire, stepped into a world of glittering luxury, only to be humiliated and escorted out by a sneering staff who judged her by her appearance. Minutes later, she returned not as a customer, but as the new owner, wielding the power to dismantle the store's entire workforce in a stunning twist that left everyone speechless. Aisha Thompson walked into the gleaming storefront of Eclat Boutique on a crisp Manhattan morning. Her heart steady but her mind sharp. The boutique, nestled in the elite stretch of Fifth Avenue, was a temple of luxury. Its shelves lined with handbags that cost more than most people's monthly rent, its air thick with a scent of exclusivity. Aisha, a 38-year-old entrepreneur, carried herself with quiet confidence. Her simple navy blazer and slacks a stark contrast to the ostentatious displays around her. She wasn't here to browse. She had a purpose, one that would soon turn the store upside down. The moment she crossed the threshold, heads turned. A sales associate, a young woman with a tight blonde bun and a name tag reading Claire, glanced up from her counter. Her eyes narrowed as they scanned Aisha's outfit, lingering on her well-worn flats. Aisha noticed the look but pressed forward, her gaze fixed on a display of limited-edition watches near the back. She had done her research. Eclat was struggling, its parent company teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Aisha's firm, Thompson Ventures, had just acquired the brand in a discreet deal finalized the previous night. Today was about assessing her new asset, quietly, or so she thought. Claire approached, her smile thin and forced. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone carrying a faint edge of skepticism. Aisha met her gaze, her voice calm but firm. "I'm just looking, thank you. I'd like to see the new Voluto collection." Claire's smile faltered. "Those pieces are quite exclusive," she said, her words clipped. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable with something from our entry-level line." Aisha raised an eyebrow, recognizing the subtle dismissal. She'd faced this before. Stores where her skin color and unassuming attire seemed to scream outsider, to staff trained to cater to a certain clientele. "I'm fine with the Voluto," Aisha replied, her tone even but unyielding. Claire hesitated, then gestured toward another associate, a man named Derek, who was hovering nearby. Derek, tall and impeccably dressed, strode over with an air of authority. "Is there an issue here?" he asked, his eyes flicking to Aisha with a mix of curiosity and judgment. Claire leaned in, whispering something Aisha couldn't hear, but the glance they exchanged was unmistakable. They didn't think she belonged. Aisha's patience thinned, but she kept her composure. "I'd like to see the Voluto watches," she repeated, her voice carrying a quiet strength. Derek's lips curled into a patronizing smile. "Ma'am, those items are reserved for our VIP clients. Perhaps you weren't aware of our store's standards." The word standards landed like a slap, its implication clear. Aisha's jaw tightened, but she refused to let them see her flinch. "I'm aware," she said coolly. "And I'd like to see them." The exchange drew the attention of other staff members. A third associate, an older woman named Margaret, joined the fray, her arms crossed. "If you're not purchasing, I'm afraid we'll have to ask you to leave," she said, her voice dripping with authority. Aisha's eyes narrowed. "I'm a customer," she said, her tone sharp now. "I have every right to be here." Margaret scoffed, exchanging a look with Derek. "We have the right to refuse service to anyone who disrupts our environment," she said. "Please leave or we'll call security." Aisha stood her ground, her heart pounding not with fear but with a growing resolve. She knew what this was, profiling plain and simple. She'd faced it in boardrooms, in restaurants, in countless spaces where her presence was questioned. But this time the stakes were different. She wasn't just a customer. She was the one who held the keys to this sinking ship of a store. Before she could respond, Derek motioned to a security guard stationed near the entrance. The guard, a burly man in a black suit, approached with a stern expression. "Ma'am, let's go," he said, gesturing toward the door. The other customers, mostly wealthy, mostly white, watched in silence, some with curiosity, others with discomfort. Aisha took a deep breath, her eyes locking onto Derek's. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice low but steady. Derek smirked. "I doubt that." With no choice but to avoid a scene, Aisha turned and walked out, the glass doors swinging shut behind her. The humiliation stung, but it was fleeting. She stood on the sidewalk, the bustle of Fifth Avenue swirling around her, and pulled out her phone. One call, 5 minutes, and everything would change. Inside the boutique, the staff resumed their routines, congratulating themselves on handling the situation. Claire adjusted a display, muttering to Derek, "Some people think they can just walk in here like they own the place." Derek chuckled, unaware that Aisha had done exactly that. Owned the place. Aisha's call connected to her attorney, Michael Langston, who had overseen the acquisition. "Michael," she said, her voice calm but resolute, "I want the paperwork finalized now. And I want a meeting with the store manager in 10 minutes. Michael, accustomed to Aisha's decisiveness, didn't hesitate. "It's done. The transfer is complete. You're the majority shareholder as of this morning. I'll have the team send the notice to the store." Aisha hung up and walked to a nearby coffee shop, her mind racing but focused. She wasn't just going to walk back into Eclat. She was going to reclaim it. The acquisition had been a calculated move. Eclat's parent company, Lux Holdings, had been bleeding money for years, its flagship store a symbol of excess that no longer resonated with modern consumers. Aisha's firm had purchased it at a fraction of its former value, with plans to overhaul the brand. But after today's encounter, her plans had shifted. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was personal. 10 minutes later, Aisha returned to Eclat. Her demeanor unchanged but her purpose razor-sharp. The same security guard spotted her and moved to intercept, but she held up a hand, her voice cutting through the air. "I'm here to see the store manager. Now." The guard hesitated, thrown by her confidence. Before he could respond, the store's manager, a middle-aged man named Richard Holt, emerged from the back office. His face a mix of confusion and irritation. He just received an email from Lux Holdings' legal team, and the subject line had sent a chill down his spine. "Immediate change in ownership." "Ms. Thompson?" Richard asked, his voice uncertain as he approached. Aisha nodded, her eyes locking onto his. "That's me," she said. "I'm the new majority shareholder of Lux Holdings, effective immediately. This store is now under my direct oversight." The words landed like a thunderclap. Claire, Derek, and Margaret, who had been eavesdropping, froze, their faces paling. The security guard stepped back, suddenly unsure of his role. Richard stammered. I wasn't informed until just now. There must be some mistake." Aisha's smile was cold but professional. "No mistake. I have the documentation and my team is sending copies to your corporate office as we speak. But let's be clear. I was just escorted out of this store because your staff decided I didn't belong. That ends today." The atmosphere in the boutique shifted. Customers whispered, sensing the drama unfolding. The staff exchanged panicked glances, realizing the gravity of their error. Aisha didn't raise her voice, she didn't need to. Her authority was undeniable. "I've seen enough to know this store's culture is rotten," she continued. "Effective immediately, every employee involved in my removal is terminated. That includes you, Claire, Derek, and Margaret. Security will escort you out." Derek's face flushed with defiance. "You can't just fire us. We were doing our jobs." Aisha's gaze didn't waver. "Your job was to serve customers, not to profile them. You failed. Pack your things." Margaret stepped forward, her voice trembling. "This is outrageous. We've worked here for years." Aisha's response was measured but unyielding. "And in those years you've built a culture of exclusion. I'm rebuilding this brand, and it starts with accountability." Richard, still reeling, tried to intervene. "Ms. Thompson, perhaps we can discuss this privately." Aisha cut him off. "There's nothing to discuss. My team will conduct a full review of this store's operations, starting with its leadership. You'll be hearing from HR. She turned to the security guard, who now looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Please ensure they leave promptly. The guard nodded, his earlier bravado gone. Claire, Derek, and Margaret gathered their belongings in stunned silence, their faces a mix of shock and indignation. As they were escorted out, Aisha addressed the remaining staff, who had watched the scene unfold with wide eyes. This store is part of my vision now, she said. If you're here to serve all customers, you have a place. If you're here to gatekeep, you don't. I'll be back tomorrow to start the transition. Word of the incident spread quickly. By evening, posts on X were buzzing with accounts of Aisha's takeover, some praising her for confronting the store's elitism, others debating the fairness of her actions. Aisha didn't care about the noise. She was already planning the next steps, retraining staff, diversifying the brand's image, and ensuring Eclat became a place where everyone felt welcome. The next day, she returned with her team, ready to transform the boutique from a symbol of exclusion into one of inclusion. The fired employees were gone, but their departure was just the beginning. Aisha knew the real work, changing a culture, rebuilding a brand, lay ahead. And she was ready,